Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where your time zone is, and welcome to this issue 9 of the Solid Edge Clinics. The clinic today will be looking at sheet metal, and this is the last clinic for 2011. If we held another one in 2 weeks' time, it'd be a little bit close to Christmas for everybody, I think. In this clinic, as usual, we'll be making a recording, and that'll be available on our website. And today we're making just a short break with normal tradition. We're just doing some interactive modelling work, just to show you some of the more commonly used features of sheet metal. Okay, we'll be looking at specifically 3 different models. We'll be building one in context of an assembly, a fairly typical operation that a lot of people do, and they have to make allowances for other objects that are already in the assembly, allow for clearance, allow for manufacturability, and what have you. The next one will be a fairly simple part, but it'll show you some of the more advanced techniques of reusing geometry, etc. And then finally, we'll be looking at a model that's been modeled in ordered mode, maybe in an earlier version, and we'll be looking at how we'll deal with that, make parts of it synchronous and leave other parts as ordered. Okay, let's get right into it. I hadn't pre-opened my assembly, so just go back for a moment to the slides. Excuse me. When we're dealing with sheet metal, in the synchronous mode, we'll find it's extremely easy to edit and create features along the way. Even where we don't have standalone features, we can edit these very easily, mirror things, deal with the geometry without having to worry about where the feature is or what the feature is dependent on, and this will become fairly obvious as we move along. So here's our assembly. I just want to activate some of the bits and pieces, and what we'll be making is a cover that's got to fit over the spindle shaft here and clear the pulley and the belts, and also it's got to clear what goes on top. Even though we won't be looking at that, we'll be making it as low as possible. So as soon as this assembly comes up, we will make a start. What we're going to do is we're going to be using, I've created a part file in here already, but there's nothing in it. So the first thing we're going to be doing is to be editing that part file. So we'll edit it in place. Pretty normal sort of thing, and we'll turn on the background layer so we can see what's happening. All we've got in there is the base reference planes and coordinate system. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle, pick the plane I want to draw it on. Here I'll click the F3 and just draw a rectangle. Now we're going to make the rectangle, needs to be 190 by 200. I'm just typing in the values as we go along, and the angle needs to be 0, so it's aligned with the axes. Okay, so we've got a region there. We can use that region, pull down to create my my first tab. Now I just let it default. I don't know what material gauge this has been set up to, so I'm just going to go back and correct that. So we go to our properties in the normal way, material table. I'm just letting the graphics catch up here a little bit, and we wish to go to the gauge tab. So once you've clicked on the gauge tab, your sheet metal gauge is in here, and it's 3.58. Whoever used that last, I want this to be 14 gauge, 1.98. Apply that to the model, and you'll see the thickness update as that happens. Okay, just zoom into there a little bit closer, pan across a little bit. Okay, the next step here is to create some flanges on this, and all we have to do to create a flange, as you're probably aware, is click on the edge on which we want to create that flange. I want to create 3 on the go here, so press my spacebar to pick up the other edges. The grab and go handle on the flange tool, and the type of flange I want. I want the, in this case, the only thing that we're really interested in is material inside, which is the default in this case. Now I'm going to pull it down to a key point. Let's refilter the key point, so I just pick up an end point, so we can be very precise about this. I'm going to pick up the end point on that bracket, which will put it right on the face of the mower deck there. Okay, once we've got that done, I might hide my background level, and we just want to spin this around so we can look in the open end. I'm going to place some dimensions on here, and you'll see how simple and logical the dimensioning is. In this case, that was the outside dimension. I just picked the top line. If I pick the inside edge, just turn on the dimensioning tool again, pick that edge, I'll pick the inside. Now, what I want to do is the dimension that's important to me in this case is the inside edge dimension. I want to make that 200 millimeters. Type in 200. It will, of course, make the outside dimension larger by the material thickness and the radii and how they're set up. Okay. Now we need to be able to clear the bolt here in the top, so I'm going to simply draw a circle on the top face. So select the top face, F3 again, center. It needs to be about 130 in diameter. Put my around about there. So I just eyeball that for the moment because I'm going to adjust this later on anyway. We go to, having drawn the sketch, I just go to my dimple function, select the dimple, select the region I want to place the dimple in. And we have a dialog box here with the dimple options, taper angle, the punch and die radius that'll make that up, and so on. And the height. In this case I want the height to be 3 millimeters. And it's created the dimple for us. Now the next thing that we want to do, just let me pan that across for you a little bit. Notice how the belt is just sticking out the side here. Well, first we need to jog that, so I need to create a line for the jog on that face. Just draw the line across there somewhere, just a horizontal line's fine. And we'll find the jog underneath the bend. So there's my jog right there. Click on the jog, and all I have to do is select the line. Which side do I want to produce the jog? I want to produce it on the downside and draw it out some distance. So all it's doing is producing a jog on there for me. I want to make that, say, I think 30 millimeters will be fine. Now I've still got the belt coming through the side of that. We're going to pick that face on the sheet metal, place my steering wheel at the bottom back edge, and rotate. Now I'm going to rotate that enough to clear the belt, say 35 degrees should be sufficient. And there we go. We've got that cleared. Now I need to fill in a rear gap. Just let me show you what I mean here. For the moment, I don't need the PMI dimensions. Do you notice I've got a little hole in here? I want to be able to fill that in. So all I'm going to do is to produce a tab. We notice that tab's at right angles to the face here. I could have changed that angle to suit there, but it's much, much easier to use a face relationship. We're going to make it coplanar. So we want that face, tick it off to be coplanar to that face, and tick that off. Now, let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Now what I want to do is move that face to within 1 millimeter of that face. So there's only a 1 millimeter gap in there. So you've seen this before, but I'll restate it. There's my steering wheel. I'm going to hold the shift key down and click on the arrow. Now I can offset that arrow from the face. In this case I want to offset it 1 millimeter. So I type in 1. Then I can click on the arrow and now move the arrow or move the steering wheel so that I'm coincident with that face. And let's just pick an end point. That'll be fine. Pick the end point, just that vertex up there. And the resultant is we have a 1mm gap. I'll just turn that around so you can see that little gap in there. Excellent. Okay. So having got the 1mm gap, I'm happy with that. We'll carry on with some more work. The next thing that we probably need to do, I'll just spin this around a little bit so I can get what I want. I want to be in this orientation, I think, to remember what I'm doing here. I need to create a flange on both sides here. So, sorry about that. Get it into the right place. So, click on that edge, spacebar, and that edge. I want to produce flanges, so the flange grab and go handle. I want to bring that flange out so that it's at that vertex on the little bush, the little bracket there. It doesn't go beyond the bracket. Now, I need to angle this face out a bit, and I want to keep that at the at a set distance. So, go to my quick menu, put a dimension on there. I want to make that, I think it's 35. We'll make it 35. And I want to lock it so that any changes I make don't change that dimension inadvertently. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is rotate that face out some small amount so that I've got I think it needs to be about 16 degrees so that I've got coverage over that bolt. Let me try 16 degrees. Yep, there we go. So I've got 16 degrees there to cover that bolt. The next thing we need to do is to cut some holes for the bolt. So we just use our project to sketch tool. Pick a face to project onto. Here's my F3 key there, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. But in my my command bar here, I want to turn on the offset. I'll determine what the offset is a little later. So I'm just picking the top of the bolt. Pick that off, and the offset 0.5 mm is fine. Notice the arrow there. I want the arrow to be on the outside, so it makes it a little larger. Across to here, and we do the same thing again. Take that off, make it larger. Now let's hide the background for a moment and escape so we can just pick up those two regions. That region, spacebar to pick up the next one, pan across a little bit and use quick pick to pick the other region and just pull them through. I'm going to go a finite distance. So just pull them through. Once they're through, they're fine. Okay, let's turn on the background again. Now we've got a dimension for what this height needs to be in here. So I'm going to set that. A dimension tool again. Pick up the outside edge. And I'm going to lock that dimension, and you notice the arrows pointing downwards, point upwards. I raise that face, but I want to lower this face. I want to take this down to 45, so there's a 45 mm step in there. Now that's fine, but what's happened here is we've got these out of alignment. So I just use a face relate, make those coplanar, just pick that top little edge there, my quick pick. Check that off and make it coplanar to that one. Check it off again. So we're getting fairly close now. A couple more things to do here just to sort this out a little bit. This little angled piece here is not terribly useful. So again, a coplanar relationship, face relate. Put a coplanar relationship on that. Just pick up that little face in there. Make it coplanar to either one of those will do, but make it coplanar to that one. Did I tick that off? No, make it coplanar to that one. And there we go. That's done. Now the next thing I want to do is to rotate this face in a little bit. Just need to, in my live rules, turn off the coplanar axes and let that one come in. I'm doing it from the wrong place. Coplanar axes on. I just need to swing that back about 22 degrees will do. Now there's a couple of other things that I need to do here just to clean this up a little bit. What I'm going to do is just cut this away a little bit. I've got too much material out this side, so all I have to do, very straightforward, is sketch on this face here. Now I want to be aligned to this edge. Notice this green edge down the bottom here. I don't want to be aligned to that, so I use my N key to be aligned to the right hand edge, and you can see that lit up as green. Now I can hit my F3 key and draw the way I want to draw. So I'm going to just come across to here, straight line down here a little bit, across here and up to the end of there. So I've got a closed profile. So we're going to select that profile, the region at least, and just cut that through. Now I need to cut in two directions, so I make that bidirectional and just cut all the way through that part. Right click to finish, sketch goes away. And we're fairly close. There's one or two things I need to do now. Now what we want to do is prevent people from stepping on this face. So I'm going to write something on the face here to stop them doing that. So all I need to do to do that is to go to my sketching tools, go to my text tool, the insert menu there. Just let you catch up on the graphics here for a little bit. It's taking a second. Okay, click on that. I can change the fonts to all of those sorts of things. So just make this about 14 millimeters will do. And type in some text. Not a step. Say okay. Now where do we want to place that? I want to place it on here or on here. It doesn't really matter. But I want to align the edge again, and you'll notice that it's aligned to the green line. I want to be aligned to that line. It's the F3 and place it on that face. Now back in our sheet metal tools, under dimple I've got an etch layer. So with the etch layer, I've got a dialog here. I want to make the width, make that 3. I can use the colors. I want the color to be black, and all I have to do is select the text and tick it off. And I've got that etch layer. If we flatten that, that'll come up in the flat. So if I just go to my tools, flat pattern, pick the area to be flattened, we'll see, okay, not a step on there, and that will come through to my assembly. Let's go to the assembly. In the assembly, what I'd have to do is to show hide all components. This is a new command with this ST4, or a new way of getting into it. We've always had this, and turn on the curves, and we see the effect in there. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at, I said before, is a part that's a little bit more complex. We're going to use some advanced techniques. So let's move right into that. Close that now. And here's the blank part that I want. Okay, we come up here, we can see we've got a flange here, we've got the tab, we've got a flange, we've got another flange, and another flange. There's in Flange 2 we've got this little detail here, so you can see even though we've got features, the features are not broken down terribly much, and we may want to deal with these things individually. Okay, first thing we're going to do is to just drag down some flanges. So we pick both ends that I want to put flanges on. I want to make sure that my live rules are restored, so I just hit the arrow there so they're at default. I'm going to pull those down using the grab and go handle. I want the material inside. Pull them down about 50 millimeters. That's about there. Okay, let's look at that roughly in front view. Doesn't have to be very accurate. And I'm just going to box select. So just drag select. So you can see a little box come around it. See that come up in the graphics. Okay, and we get both of those bottom faces. Now the intelligence is built into Solid Edge to know that if I'm pulling these two faces at once, they're going to move in opposite directions. So I move those material. It's on the outside, 25. The dimensions on the outside, 25 millimeters. Double click, by the way, on the middle button to zoom in. Now, when we're working with this again, as I said before, remember, do the outside, and then I can pick up the inside as well. You notice they're different. They're different by the material properties. Now, the material properties and the gauge and things on this are correct for the one I'm doing, but let's just change this dimension. I want to make that, say, 125. And we'll see symmetry apply, and it moves symmetrically. It made this change this dimension appropriately. Okay. Next thing I want to do, I want to lock that dimension because I changed the other one. It wasn't locked. Make it 25 again and lock. So it's red. Any dimension that's locked is red. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't change that. It just means that external events won't change it, because what I'm going to do now is to angle this face. I want to rotate this face. Put the steering wheel on the center of that curve, the radius there, and I'm going to move that just by rotating the torus. Now you can see both ends are rotating. I don't want that to happen, so to turn off symmetry, all I have to do is tap the S key on my keyboard, and symmetry's off. Tap it again, symmetry's on. So we want the symmetry off, and I want to rotate that out, I don't know how far, 20 degrees I think. Should be adequate. Okay, I've got a sketch in here. I won't bore you with drawing the sketch, that I want to do a cutout through this. Now there's several ways we can do cutouts. Just to take a look at that, I'll just select the two regions. And if I set my type to finite and just grab the grab and go handle, I want it unidirectional, and just pull it down, it'll just cut through. Now we can see that this this cutout is actually, the sketch is actually designed to work on the flat here. In the past, we had tools to bend, unbend, rebend, all of those sorts of things. Here, there's a single command to do it. It's called wrapped cut. What that will do is unbend everything, put the cut in, we right-click, and it rebends. So there's no bend, unbend in the feature tree. It's just all taken away. It's quite nice. Okay. What I want to do now is actually make some changes in here. The first thing I'm going to do is to do a face relationship. I want to make this horizontal or vertical on this face. I'm going to pick the face by the plane, and it's snapped all that back in. Okay, tick that off. So let's just put that relationship on there. You'll notice I didn't persist the relationship with the persist command here because it hasn't come into my edge bar. Now what I want to do is create a plane. So the old plane command, just a coincident plane, on that little side face here, and I want to move that plane to be on the center of the flange. So pick up a midpoint, pick the midpoint on either one of those edges, and I've got a center plane here. Okay, just let's zoom into that a little bit. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pick the faces because there is no feature there, as I said before. So just pick those little set of faces there, and I want to use my pattern command to mirror. And I want to mirror about that plane. Now you see as I touch the plane, it gives me a preview, and I click, it actually builds the mirror for me. We can see that's a true mirror about that plane because if I modify it, they both modify together. Okay. The next thing we want to do is I'll flip this over. We want to align these faces so that this face, and this face are all in alignment. Again, we can do this with a coplanar relationship. Pick that face. I'm going to make some modifications to my live rules. I'm going to turn off symmetric, turn off the coplanar axes, and I need to turn off the thickness chain because it's sheet metal, and accept that. Now click on the face that I want to be to align to, and let it do its work. For some reason, which I'm not sure, it doesn't want to do it. Okay, just do this another slightly different way. My face relate, that one, select it. I just turn off the coplanar faces for the moment and do it to that one. Those two will align. That's great. Now what I want to do is I may be able to do it this way, do this, this face, select that off to that face. No, it doesn't want to do it. Okay, so it's too high. There's something funny with that face. I'll just move that face down and try it again. Okay, we've got those faces all in alignment now. Right. Now, when we're dealing with mirrors, there's some interesting thing goes on. Let me just take this little object here, and I'm going to mirror that, but using it mirrored against this outside edge here, this plane out here. Now, because it's a mirror, this mirror 3, when I move that, both of them will move together. They're not symmetrical because they're not symmetrical at all about the center of the axes here. If I don't want that to act as a mirror, we have a command with ST4 that allows me to, notice flange 29, this one out here is part of that mirror. But if I select the mirror itself, right click, I can break. So I can break that feature into a set of faces. So it's not a mirror anymore, it's gone away, I've lost the mirror. So if I modify that face, it behaves independently of the other one. So it's no longer a mirror. I'll just put it back in there. Now, to finish this job off, what I need to do is make a copy of all of this here across to the other side. So it's Flange 2, Shift to get Flange 3, so it's all of the material in green. And I need to place my steering wheel somewhere logical. I'll just put it up there for the moment. I want to have the secondary axis pointing straight outwards. There's a detent right there where it hits the 90-degree point. And I'm going to use the Shift center button move and just put it in the corner there. So you can see where it is. So it's on the corner right there. All I have to do now is copy it. So Control-C, just a Microsoft copy. Okay, I'm going to rotate the model around and we're going to paste. So just use my paste command up on the ribbon bar, or Control-V, whatever you feel like. And you'll now notice that this is attached to my cursor. It's facing the wrong way, so I need to highlight the edge plane there, the edge face. See that come up in a slightly darker color. Now I can tap the F3. What that does is orients that to my plane in the direction of the secondary axis there. You can see that's pointing outwards on the steering wheel. Now I can just click to place that. But it's still not the right height. I can move that up and down. So we need to align that top edge, and I need to use an end point. And I can just pick the end point on here. I'm just picking right at the end of the top face there. Little vertice there. Click. That's in place. Now I'm going to rotate my steering wheel, not rotate my steering wheel, but select one of the knobs so that the primary axis is horizontal, and now I can move that back and forth along that edge. So this time what I'm going to do, pick an endpoint, and across the other side is just on that vertex in there. You should be able to see that come up. I've just picked the vertex on the other side to align that edge. Click, and it's aligned. Now all I have to do is right click and attach it. You notice there's a gap in here, but the attach will fill that in automatically. So it just binds it in and the color changes. Final thing to do is to use my face relate. Take that face, check it off, and align it to that face, and check that off. And we have our part. As you can see, there's some complex, what looks like complex operations in there, but they're very simple. Where things aren't straight mirrors, we need to copy geometry and modify geometry. We can do that straight out. Okay, the last one that we're going to look at, and I need to move along in time a little bit, is to be working with some traditional or legacy models. In this case, we've got a model which is been modeled, it might have been in a previous version of Solid Edge, but it's a traditional part. So I'll just bring up this little housing. And if I want to make this synchronous, the thing that I'd normally do is just pick the last feature in here, right click and say move to synchronous. Right, that'll make it a synchronous part, providing everything works. Well, it says that the dimple one can't be moved to synchronous because it's dimples don't move very easily, so we need to probably leave that in traditional. And the stagger pattern is found. If it's moved to synchronous, it'll be related as a face set. I want to leave it as a pattern, so I need to do some things a little differently here. So first thing I'm going to do is deal with the dimples. So I'm going to pick the dimple and the two mirrors. So I'm just holding the shift key down. The mirror 2 and mirror 4 gets all those dimples. You can see them highlighted in green. Right click on those and say group. It's going to rename the group to call it dimple. Now the other thing that we've got is holes 12 and 13. These two holes here need to be grouped as well. So again, I'm just selecting those two, right click, group, and it's called group 2, and I'll rename that as fan hole. Right. Now I want to keep those, this fan hole, I want that to be, I want this to be moved into the synchronous set. So I'm just going to move those up to just under flange 4, so that they're under flange 4. That's fine. And the now all I have to do is what did I do? Fan hole. I got it wrong. Undo whatever I did. Sorry, I picked the wrong one. Fan hole. So I need to drag the fan hole up to flange 4. So it's just under flange 4. Somehow I mucked up that hole. Bear with me. I got that into that group somehow. Okay, I need to undo that as well. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's that hole and that hole I meant to have in the group, and I got the wrong one in there. Thank heavens for undo. There we go. Okay, so 12 and 13, that's that group I want. Right click and just say group. Moving too fast, you see, and now rename that as fan hole. If you look at what you're doing, you can actually see what's going on. So I need to now move that group so that it's underneath flange 4, because I want to make everything from there, from that group, all the way up to tab 1. I want to make those synchronous. So all I have to do is right click and say move to synchronous. and then our Synchronous. And now let's see how this wants to work. I'm just going to rotate this around so I can get features that I want. And we're just going to do a group select or a box select. So I just draw a box, just drag my cursor around. It selects all of those things that are in the green. Pick a knob on my steering wheel to set the vector in the right position, and I'm going to drag this out 100 millimeters. Now some stuff moves, other stuff doesn't, and we need to we'll show you how to go about fixing that. So if we look at that, what we'll see is that the excuse me, losing my voice. This mirror didn't work properly, so I need to set up a new mirror plane. If I highlight those, we'll see that's mirror 4. So I need to set a new plane. So I need to make a plane parallel to the base planes here. So it's that base plane. And it needs to be on the midpoint of the edge here, somewhere there. That'll do fine. So now I can edit mirror 4 and change the plane. So I'd use the edit function. I'll go to select the plane. And, oh, sorry. The plane doesn't exist when I edit it, does it? Because the plane is before there. So I just drag that plane up there somewhere. I don't want it there. That should be okay. So mirror 4. Edit those. Select the plane step. Did I pick the plane? It's that one. And the little warning message comes up. Some relationships may be lost. They won't be. It'll be fine. We notice that those two dimples now have moved into the right location. The next thing I need to fix is this, do I finish there, rebuild, is the holes here, this hole 2, and I need to edit the profile on that hole 2, and let's see what, because that's now in the wrong place. We want to tie that, instead of being a distance from the far end, I will unlock that dimension, and I'll put a new dimension in from the center of the hole to just that edge, the edge there, and make that 10 millimeters, so that hole's always 10 millimeters from the end. And we can close the sketch and finish. Now they're in the right place. Now, if I do the same operation as I did before, let's just pick up all of those and set my steering wheel so that the vector is pointing in the right direction on the primary axis. And I move those out another 50 millimeters. Everything moves correctly. So I've got a mixture of, we've selected there, of both synchronous and ordered parts that we're editing. We don't want to make some of the ordered parts synchronous because we just want to leave them the way they are. They're fine. We can edit everything. Likewise, if I pick a side here, spin that round, draw a box around those, and move those some distance, I forget to turn on symmetric. I can change that, and you notice that the dimples are all moving correctly. So if I move that 40 millimeters. Pretty straightforward. One more thing, just to make sure you're aware of this, I'll just do this very quickly because I want to make a flat pattern here. Just flatten that. But what I want to do is I want to create a tab on here, say on here, for manufacturing purposes. Now, all right, this tab will only exist in the so I've got an extra tab on here, might be for hold down or manufacturing purposes, but it doesn't exist in the 3D. So if I go back to synchronous or ordered, doesn't make any difference. So I go to my ordered, sorry. That tab doesn't exist. It's not there in the 3D, but if I highlight it, we see it's there in the 2D. So just worth knowing. Okay. So we've just had a quick look at building things in context, using some advanced techniques with that little bracket, and then working with legacy models that have been modeled in traditional, and we need to rapidly edit them, but we don't want to convert everything to synchronous. We can see how we can do that. Just a little bit of thought about how this works helps you right out, but you can see that synchronous technology makes editing, designing sheet metal parts very quick and easy and intuitive. It's you're not tied in the commands as much as just working with workflows, how you want to do something, which edges you want to work with. So we've also, just as a reminder, we've got a one-day course that's available for sheet metal for people who are already familiar with modelling in Solid Edge. This is an extension course, a one-day extension course for sheet metal. Okay, if you've got any questions, just type them in, and we'll continue. I'll let those questions build up a little bit, and we'll see how they go. There's a couple coming in there. The first one there I can see is, how can this flat pattern and 3D be drawn in the draft mode? I've done that in the draft, but it's simply once I've saved something. If I just go back, I'll do it quickly. I've got that flat pattern already saved there. So if I save this, I'm going to save it as something else because I don't want to. I'll just put it in there. So now if I create a drawing of this, say new, create drawing, just my standard template, okay. When I come up in my drawing, I've got my design part, which is the 3D, or I can take the flat pattern. So if I select the flat pattern from the drawing creation wizard, say next, it's always the top that I look at the flat pattern. So you always select the name view of top. Next, and I'm just going to say finish, and I place that flat pattern. There it is. And it's that simple. So I hope that answers your question. Back to my slides. Just while there's more questions coming in, as I said before, this is the last one for 2011. 2011's almost gone. I don't know what happened to it. We will be commencing these again the latter part of January, but you'll all get emails well ahead of time before those happen. So, hello, more questions coming in. Yes, as I said before, the presentation will be available on our website. Just go into the support area. You need a login, but they'll be available there. And the flat pattern can, of course, be represented in the same drawing as the 3D model, of course. So if I just go to my view wizard and say that's the one I want, say OK, I want the design part next, I want the right-hand view next, and I want those 4 views, and pop those in there. So there they are. I might want that to be shaded, and so on. And we can place the dimensions on those, and on and on. So, yep. Okay. I think everybody's had almost enough for this year. I want to thank you all for your attention during the year. It's we've been running these for a couple of months now, and everybody seems to be enjoying them. They are available on the website, and we'll be running more of these next year. Of course, first half of next year, around about the May-June timeframe, we'll be getting into Solid Edge with Synchronous technology, ST5, and we'll be doing seminars on that as well, and webinars. Don't forget, look on our website for our training schedule. Good time of the year is to look at the beginning of the year for training, and the schedule is out for the first couple of months of next year. So, once again, thank you all for your attention. Have a very happy and safe festive season, and I look forward to seeing you all again next year. Bye for now.